Hi guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. In this video, I'm going to be looking into the question, what are your person's true thoughts and feelings about you at this time? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the yellow heart. Group 2 is the white heart. And group 3 is the blue heart. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the hearts to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. It shows the yellow heart. So let's see, what are the true thoughts and feelings about the person on your mind towards you right now? We have transcendence, protection, and rebirth. So there's an energy here with transcendence and rebirth that you have changed. You are a very different person than they remember. If this is someone that you're in no contact with, there's a sense that you've outgrown them, you've outgrown the situation, you've outpaced them in some sort of way, and they're struggling to really see potential to kind of resurrect this connection because they may be struggling with a lot of kind of regrets over pushing you away or rejecting you in the past where they thought it was for their better good, but now that they're seeing that like you've changed for the better or you've had some sort of glow up, they're feeling like their rejection of you was protection of you from them. So there's a sense that they're really sad at this particular point in time in terms of how things turned out between the two of you. And there's a sense of not really knowing what they could say or do to kind of fix the situation. Feeling that if they were to come back towards you and, you know, kind of create communication or speak some sort of truth, that you would always be very guarded towards them. Things that they have said or done in the past that there's almost like, I don't know if there's any coming back from this. I don't know if you could ever look at me in the same way. If this is something where you'd ever fully come out of your shell in the same way that you did before. So it's almost like they're comparing the future or like the timeline that you each exist on at this point in time. They're judging it by the standards of like a past timeline where so much has changed, so many circumstances are changing, but they're failing at this particular point in time to kind of see hope for the future because they're still trapped in that lens of the past. So let's get a little bit more and see what else their thoughts and feelings are for you at this time. Okay, we have stealthy shark, comprehension, progress, and improvement. Kind koala, mindfulness, relaxation, self-care. And loyal llama, patience, stamina, and diligence. So there's a sense here that they feel like you've given up on them or you've given up kind of the way you were holding on to these energies or this connection in the past. It's like you've seen this person as like a shark, that they were very opportunistic, that they may have kind of come to you in a time that you were, a little more naive, a little more green, a little more emotionally vulnerable. And there's a sense that you held on to some kind of promise, some kind of hope, some kind of potential in this situation that failed to be sustainable in a long-term sense, where like they've dropped the ball in this circumstance, and it's very obvious that you're not waiting around for them anymore. You've let go of that version of you that would have tried to get all cuddly with kind of like toxic behavior that they were showing in the past. There's a sense that in the past they almost felt like you were clinging to them, or that there would be this like certainty or guarantee that you'd always kind of stick around, you'd always be there, you would always be the person that they could reach out to, or kind of like circle back around to. But you're now like, you're hip to them, you're wise to their game, you kind of like get what they had going on in the past. You've evolved in some sort of way to where there's a sense of almost kind of like you're on guard, you're defensive, or they know in like the time that you've been apart from one another, they just remained stuck in a loop. They've repeated the same patterns that were a problem before, or things that it's almost like they know about themselves that they might have kept hidden from you. And there's a sense of you could have just been very like blindly trusting this person, like you had blind faith in this person. You were caught up in kind of the illusion of what could have been. There may have even been some limerence going on, or, they kind of just took you for a ride in some sort of way because they saw you as, kind of an easy target or a naive person. But there's a sense that you've leveled up your life in some sort of way, or you've changed and evolved so much. This could be somebody that's like keeping an eye on you and on social media, or they've heard things about you through the grapevine. And there's a sense of almost kind of like the behavior in the past, it's not going to fly this time. You're somebody that's wiser. They put you through some things, and you had to like heal and up level to such an extent that there's a sense of kind of like, there's sort of no point in trying to reach out to you because you'd be well aware of kind of this person's angle. And so there's a sense that they see that this is like their loss in some sort of way. Like it's been a humbling experience, but it feels like this person is very embedded within their ego, to where this isn't the energy of somebody who like wants to fight to try to regain a place in your life. It's kind of almost the idea of it's safer just to sort of lurk in the shadows at this particular point in time, because like the power dynamic between the two of you has changed in such a way. Like you love yourself, you've created healthier boundaries or better discernment, that there's almost a sense of them feeling like I can't really get my foot in the door in the same way that I did before. There's nothing that I could really offer to you in this circumstance that you would just sort of take at face value. Like I'd have to own up to things. Have to be held accountable for things. To be in your presence would require that I'd be willing to kind of grow and evolve as a person. And it feels like they haven't been doing that work within themselves. They just remain stagnant. They remain the same. They remained in that same evolution as the version of themselves that they were in the past. And there's almost a sense that they feel like you might have been attached to an illusion or some kind of facade that they presented. But if they were to like see you now, like face to face, have a conversation, interact with you, you'd see right through them. And that it's almost like you'd be the one to discard. You'd be the one to reject them. So it feels safer in the silence, almost kind of like they've just been running around doing the same thing. You actually put in the work to like heal and grow and evolve. And so there's almost a sense of like, I don't want to be the one now who's chasing you when I don't really think that there's much that I have to offer you that's worth or worthy of kind of like what you've managed to create for yourself emotionally or actually in terms of like any improvements you've made in your life overall. So let's get a few more and see what else their true thoughts and feelings are about you. Okay, we've got the captain taking command, teamwork. The runaway, secrets, running from problems. And the guide, inheritance and correction. Yeah, so there's a sense that they misjudged you. They thought that you would always be somebody that would respond to the little carrot on the string that they dangle in front of you. They thought that they had control over the situation, but you've snatched back your power. You've taken control of your life. You've discontinued chasing this person. Even obviously, like you're watching this reading, and if these energies are resonating with you, there's still that curiosity, like, okay, just a little map check here, like what's going on with them? Is there any sort of progress? But there's a sense of almost kind of feeling that this is a lost cause between the two of you, or time has run out for them in some sort of way. They're starting to kind of awaken, it feels like, to some potential within you they hadn't seen before. They underestimated you. They undervalued you. They like pushed you away or sort of ran from this situation because they didn't see your inherent worth. They thought that they were the one who was the catch. They were the one who was kind of bringing everything to the table as far as like positive qualities or resources in some sort of way. And even with kind of like the heartbreak or the confusion that they've left you in, you've managed to put back the pieces of a broken heart, or, like any kind of interruption that this has created in your life. You've managed to kind of create something from that. You've moved beyond that version of yourself that was kind of, down in the dirt because of this person. Like you've risen from the ashes in some sort of way, like a phoenix from the ashes. But now it's something where there's almost a sense of them feeling like, if I were to reach out or come back to you, I'd always be having to try to apologize or to try and, make up for the past in a way that it feels like is very challenging to their ego. Even if like an apology would be owed, or you're telling yourself like, hey, I'd be open to kind of working things out with this person, or, at least if they'd be putting in the effort, like I'd give them the benefit of the doubt. I'd hear what they have to say. There's a sense that they're not evolved enough within themselves to kind of look at that as something that is very beneficial to them. That instead it makes them feel, the idea of that makes them feel very disempowered. And yet there's also the sense of kind of like those roles have reversed. Like you've maybe been given no choice but to move forward with your life in some sort of way, or kind of just like create closure for yourself. And now they find themselves in this place of like, I don't want to look, but I can't help but looking. I don't want to pursue this, and yet I can't fully detach from this circumstance. So it's almost like you become this person's lesson, or like their rude awakening in some sort of way, in terms of like that they underestimated you, and you've really kind of, you've transformed yourself, or, you've created something that is different about you, about your life, or about yourself that they don't feel worthy of. They don't feel that what they have to offer would be anything that you'd be wanting to accept. It would be like a step down. It would be like settling to take this person back in some sort of way. And there's a sense that the novelty of that would wear off very quickly. Or any promises that they could make at this point, they would just be empty promises, and they're aware enough about that, because it feels like their life is kind of just carrying on as it was before. And so there's a sense of almost feeling that you wouldn't look at them, with kind of like stars in your eyes. You wouldn't pedestalize them in the same way that you once did. And it feels like that may be something that they thrive in, that kind of experience, having other people sort of worship them, or look at them as kind of more like important, or more relevant, or more kind of desirable than they really are. Like they promote themselves to be some kind of catch, and they're not at least as compared to sort of what you've kind of transformed into through even just kind of like if you've had to sort of stitch back together a broken heart on your own, you may still be trying to kind of build towards a life that you're excited about, or, kind of step into that best life. But as far as this person sees, you bring a lot more to the table. You're a lot stronger than they are, or, how you've healed, even if it's been messy, it's been graceful in some sort of way. Like you've put yourself back together again, which there's almost a sense of like, if I were in your shoes, I don't think I wouldn't have come out the same way. I don't think if I were in your shoes, if the roles were reversed, I don't think that I would have used that experience as an opportunity to like self-improve. I would have just been on the rampage and would have kind of perpetuated all of that hurt, all of that anger, all of that kind of destruction. I would have just sort of spread that around to other people. So there's a sense of feeling now that you're kind of, you outrank them in some sort of way, spiritually, emotionally, like they're seeing you for more of like the resilient person that you are, which is something they couldn't perceive before, but it's also something which it feels like mirrors a lot of insecurity. So this is not somebody that feels it would be advantageous or worth their while to try to come rushing back in. So let's get some message cards from their higher self and see what they want you to know right now. Okay, and we have I get excited every time I see you. So this is kind of feeling like they get very agitated every time they see you. You represent some kind of missed opportunity for this person, and there's a sense that they're going to be kicking themselves for a long time over kind of like what they could have had with you in the past. A lot of sort of unnecessary suffering that has like happened in this situation, that now it's kind of like things are improving for you. Your life is getting brighter, and they're still just stagnant. Their time has passed, but they're still just the same person. And so there's a sense of almost like feeling that it will continue to not work to their advantage. Anything they might have like said in terms of like, talking shit about you or the situation, anything that could have been very like, disparaging, anything, even just kind of their own internal monologue where they could have justified their actions in the past. It's almost like you are living proof of kind of transcending beyond those things, or whatever they might have said about the situation, or like the motives that they had for themselves. It doesn't equate to kind of like who you are today. Like the math isn't mathing in this situation, as far as like they may have been like, oh well, it's your loss, like I was too good for the situation. And now it's sort of like the opposite is revealing itself, that your star is on the rise. And so it doesn't really compute how they had kind of justified themselves in the past, whatever it is that happened, or whatever it is they did, or any ways they might have kind of kept you sort of, they'd been stringing you along in some sort of way, breadcrumbing you, kind of running hot and cold until you might have said enough is enough and sort of cut away from the situation. Yeah, and they also say I got triggered. So there was a sense that there was a point in time where their feelings for you were very genuine. They were very excited about the connection and the potential between the two of you in the future. But then there was a certain point where it required them to kind of not take the lead from ego, but to allow themselves to be in an energy of almost like a teachable moment through like the love that you had to offer, or through changes that they would have needed to make in their outlook on love and the way in which they were living their life, like whatever resonates for your situation, in order to be able to continue to kind of evolve and maintain something like healthy, an energy where you could both thrive with each other. And that's the point, it feels like, when they sort of like chose their comfort zone. They clung to stagnation. They pushed you away or self-sabotaged or just whatever happened, because there was a part of them that is like, I'm not ready for change. I don't want to I don't want to grow and evolve unless it's kind of my idea, and I just want to sort of continue on with the status quo. And so there's a sense that that part of them, they haven't really confronted that. They've not really chiseled away at that ego in any sort of way. They're still operating in that same kind of energy of resistance, a very ego-based sort of reality. And so there's an energy here of even kind of your light, your personal growth, your evolution. It's very triggering to all the things that they haven't done in terms of that internal work within themselves. Yeah, and they also say, I need to make a decision. So this, again, ties into someone that's very triggered in the ego right now. There's a sense of them kind of like coming up with a list of excuses, like this would never work. This is something like, I don't want to come towards this person and then, have to keep like begging for forgiveness or, proving myself to be a different person. Like that feels to be something where I'll just always be groveling and it'll never be good enough. I won't be the one in like power and control in the situation. And yet they can't look away. Now they can't stop thinking about you. Now you've directed your attention towards something else, or you've shed the version of you that would have settled for what this person had to give in the past. And so they feel that like energetically, maybe actually your life has changed. Your priorities are different. And so there's a sense that they're really feeling that. They're feeling that energy of being out in the cold, and they're understanding that like they contributed to putting themselves there, but they've got a lot of pride and ego at this point where they can't come in and like ask for help. They don't want to come towards you and sort of, let you know that they were wrong or they were mistaken in the approach that they took in the past. And so it feels like something that now you are the catalyst for something within this person's journey, in terms of that feeling where, they're kind of like looking towards you, very curious with what you have going on, but very aware that at this particular point in time, there's really nothing they could offer to you that would be like reasonable for you to give them another chance or to kind of like let them back in. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got D, O, V, E, T, O, M, R, L, X, M, V, N, Y, J, and H. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well. Hi, group 2. Chose the white heart. So let's see, what are the true thoughts and feelings of the person on your mind towards you at this time? Okay, we have emotions, squaring the circle, and discernment. So it feels like this person has seen through certain illusions that they had about the nature of their feelings for you and how quickly these came on, how deep these feelings were, and a sense that that might have kind of scared them at first, like they were falling too quickly for you, they were feeling more than they were prepared for, like sudden surges of emotions, almost something that might have been an energy of like, this is too good to be true. I gotta slow down in this situation. I gotta take a step back. I feel like I'm losing myself in this connection, or that could be a possibility. This is almost somebody that might have kind of started to get a little obsessed about you, and kind of like thinking too much in the realm of fantasy. Like, when am I going to talk to you again? When am I going to see you again? What comes next in this circumstance? That it feels like they feel bad for anything where they've kind of like abruptly sort of changed their position with you. Like if they've started sort of like making up excuses, that they're busy or the communication's been a little bit inconsistent. There's a sense that they feel like you are assuming that they found someone else, or this might have even been something where, you could have been triggered based on how they kind of changed things up, and you were just like, oh, hell no, I'm not gonna go through this again with you. I've been through this with other people. And so you might have been someone that kind of put up some blocks or parameters to this person. You drew a line in the sand for them that was very clear and very definitive. And so it feels like it's taken them aback in some sort of way, kind of like it was a wake-up call for them, or it stunned them in some kind of way, almost like this is almost somebody that's kind of panicking at this particular point in time, feeling like, I hope I didn't mess everything up. This is something where it's kind of a stumbling block for them at this particular point in time, how to kind of like warm back up or get back on track with you in terms of the way the communication was before or at a period of time. Because there's a sense that they know that they've given you a lot of reason to be cautious, to kind of like, things were going very kind of like smooth between the two of you. And now there's these sharp angles or these sharp edges, where you're kind of demonstrating to this person that you're emotionally intelligent, that you're not going to tolerate kind of like wishy-washy people or hot and cold behavior. They're seeing you standing in your power in some sort of way. And it's making them feel kind of like, okay, I need to either sort of like do the correct thing at this point moving forward, or I'm going to be kind of out of luck as far as this situation is concerned. So there's almost like the next move towards you, the next thing that they say, they feel that there's got to be some sort of clarity, but they're also very cautious. They don't want to like rub you the wrong way. They don't want you to misinterpret anything. And they're kind of trying to juggle this feeling of being like very overwhelmed by their emotions, but also kind of how to sort of do damage control or kind of clean up anything that has been sort of misinterpreted or misconstrued, or something where they kind of like, they took a wrong approach to this situation in terms of they just kind of felt very overwhelmed, and the nature of how they were interacting with you changed so abruptly that it's kind of like it cautioned you in some sort of way. It presented as some kind of a red flag, and there's a sense of almost like that it's a misunderstanding. Like this isn't something, they're like hoping that you won't kind of like look at this person as like unsafe to trust in, but there's like a sense of like, I hope you're going to hear me out when I try to make some sort of effort to kind of smooth things out between the two of us, because I don't like how I've just kind of abruptly changed in this situation. It doesn't feel right. But at the same point in time, they're kind of like, maybe even with kind of these almost like 3 of Cups energy, there's almost a sense of like they are triggered by something inside of kind of like, if I allow myself to open up totally, if I allow myself to feel into all these feelings, if I allow myself to fall in love with you or admit that I'm in love with you, or I allow the situation to progress forward, then we get into the territory that I was in with someone previously, and that's where they broke my heart. That's when they kind of like turned my life upside down. And so there's a sense that this is like that same kind of territory of emotions has happened with you, but it's created some sort of reaction in them where they're kind of like, they're afraid to lose you in this situation, but they're afraid to like take another step towards you. So let's see what else you need to know about their thoughts and feelings. Okay, we have sensitive sloth, tranquility, tolerance, diplomacy. Rowdy rooster, authority, influence, responsibility. And playful penguin, whimsy, community, and loyalty. So there's a sense that this person is kind of feeling that time is running out in this situation because they're very slow to kind of like break the ice between the two of you, speak some sort of truth, make some kind of expression that will demonstrate their vulnerability and kind of give you a peek into more of those feelings about you, but in a way that's not just kind of like, I'm making this confession or this romantic gesture and then I get scared and I kind of get cold feet and I pull back again. There's a sense of understanding that like they've either sort of run its course between the two of you, or you're the type of person that you're not going to tolerate that nonsense from them because you might have dealt with that with someone in the past. And so there's a sense of like feeling very tongue-tied when they're in your presence. Like the words just don't come out right. Whatever it is that they've said or communicated to you in the past, and their actions that correspond with that, it's like it doesn't align in some sort of way. And it's really hard for this person to kind of trust, it feels like, in the nature that feelings that have come on very quickly or very deep or, you know, have kind of like taken on a life of their own, it's hard for them to feel that like this is in their highest good. There may even be something where from a previous connection or like a previous heartbreak, they told themselves like, okay, the next time I feel something for someone, the next time I experience real connection, I need to take things slow. I can't rush. I can't kind of like, you know, not lay a proper foundation with an individual because that's what got me in trouble before. And so there's a sense here that what they feel for you makes them want to break all their rules in that sense. What they feel for you is kind of like deep enough and real enough that it's like, I'd like to rush forward, not just into like physical intimacy, but it's like emotional intimacy in some sort of way. But there's a sense of almost kind of like, there's a part of them that struggles with that kind of like broken part of them that's sort of mistrusting in love, you know, that's got some wounds as far as love and loss are concerned, that it's kind of like, can I trust in these feelings? Is this just my heart leading me astray once again? This might have even been somebody that was just looking for a casual, like a hookup or, you know, something that wasn't that deep with you. And, you know, they messed around and fell in love. They kind of caught feelings. And so there's something here in terms of like that is sort of making them feel very nervous. Like, I don't know if this is the right thing. I don't know if it's mutual. I don't know if you're good for me. There may almost be kind of like a fear as well that you've been sent into their life as some kind of karmic retribution for somebody in the past that they kind of like mishandled as far as love is concerned. Like, this is somebody that when you met them, they were kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, I broke someone's heart. I did someone dirty. You know, I've got a past that isn't pretty. And so, you know, feeling like they weren't exactly worthy or deserving of beautiful experiences romantically with someone. Like, I messed up the one chance that I had, the opportunity for like real love or true love. And so that's kind of the mindset that they have very consciously within. And now you've come into the equation and it's almost like you've teased a version of them out of hiding that is feeling kind of like, well, maybe this is the love I was waiting for. Maybe, I'm not just supposed to kind of skulk around and sit in that energy of like punishing myself for the mistakes of the past. Maybe the universe is going to bless me with love, is going to bless me with like a real companion. And maybe that person is you. And so there's a dilemma going on within them at this particular point in time. And it feels like that sort of struggle has reflected in some sort of way in terms of what the communication has looked like. But then there's also a sense of like, I'm not ready to talk. I'm not ready to like say those things out loud. It's almost somebody that might be like, I need to figure this out on my own. I can't kind of like work through this with you. This is like my challenge that I need to sort of figure out. But then there also is an understanding here that the longer that they take to figure that out, the more that door of opportunity closes between the two of you, or it might have almost as well, things might have changed. You might have pulled your energy back, or you're like not actively kind of sitting around and waiting for this person. They see you as somebody who is very kind of like, you're very desirable, you're very personable. It's kind of like anyone would be lucky to get your time and attention. And so they almost feel kind of foolish for sort of like, here I am kind of doubting your intentions or doubting my feelings, when anyone would be lucky to get the time of day from you. And so there's a lot of pressure that they're putting on themselves. It feels like to say something, like say the right thing, but then also something where they're very kind of guarded or skeptical in terms of like that heart space, and sort of like, can I trust these feelings, these intense feelings? Or is this just something that's going to kind of like lead me into another experience of being let down or heartbroken or disappointed? So let's get a few more to see what else their true thoughts and feelings are about you right now. Okay, we have the scholar, investigation, research. The spy master, knowledge, distrust. And the sailor, new influences, wanderlust. Yeah, so there's a lot of fear that you have kind of interpreted something that has changed in terms of the way in which they're communicating, that you're interpreting that as like they're out seeking for other people, that they don't want you, that they're, that this connection is like one-sided, or they've lost interest in some sort of way. And so there's a sense of almost kind of feeling that the next conversation, or if they want to like take a step back towards you, they're going to have to disclose a lot of things that it kind of enters into that territory of like making them feel very uncomfortable, because it lets you in closer to kind of their inner world, their emotional world. There may be something where they're having to kind of like provide explanations, not like excuses, but some sort of an explanation of kind of like, yeah, I thought I was completely over like a heartbreak from the past, but I got these trust issues. Yeah, I feel a lot for you, but I'm scared of falling in love. I'm scared of getting hurt. I'm scared of kind of, patterns in my life repeating, something like that, like an emotionally mature conversation that needs to take place, that they're feeling is like the only key to get back into your sort of like good graces, or to get you to like let your guard down or let your wall down in some sort of way. But there's a feeling of almost like they're trying to sort of perfect what they want to say, or sort of fine tune it in some manner. But then there's a fear of like, maybe it'll be too little too late. Maybe it'll be something that like my behavior or my conduct, it's already presented as like a red flag for you. And I'll just be wasting my time. It'll just be kind of like empty words. Like, you've been through your own experiences. And so whatever the momentum was between the two of you that was like interrupted on this person's part when they kind of pulled back, there's a fear of sort of like, I don't know if we can get back on the same page with one another. I don't know if I've just like missed my chance with you. But then there's also a sense of them feeling like, if that's the case, you definitely like made a very strong impression upon them emotionally. There's a sense that they didn't anticipate feeling what they feel for you at all, or like this quickly. The feelings have come on very suddenly. It's kind of like taken them by surprise. In a way that it feels like they weren't prepared for. They weren't looking for that. And so there's a sense that they can't like shut those feelings off, but there's a sense too of kind of like they're scared to sort of follow through on that, or to follow that through to a place of like, okay, I'm going to trust that this is for the best. I had one intention, one plan, that we'd keep it casual, we'd keep it light, and all of a sudden I've fallen in love, or all of a sudden I've got these feelings, all of a sudden I'm in this kind of obsessive energy and I don't know what to do. And so there's a sense of feeling like if you're forced to sort of walk away, or they don't kind of redeem themselves in time, then you'll always exist as this missed opportunity or this what if for them. But they're kind of struggling at this particular point in time to find a way to kind of de-escalate this kind of triggered energy within and just go with the flow of this connection. So let's get some message cards from their higher self and see what they want you to know right now. Okay, and they say, I'm trying to impress you. Yeah, so this is somebody that it feels like they need to have a big conversation. There's like a big declaration, a big show of love that needs to be made. But there's a sense like once we walk through that door, I don't want to disappoint you by kind of like, okay, we're taking things to the next level, and then I'm floundering again. Okay, I'm taking things to the next level, and then I get scared, I get cold feet, and I pull back. There's a sense that they don't want to like get your hopes up only to let you down, because that may have happened already. And so there's a sense that it's almost like building up that level of confidence, or kind of looking within themselves, sort of like, I feel so much, why am I so scared of these feelings? It's a good connection that we have. It's a very organic connection. Yeah, these feelings came on deeper and suddenly, but why is that a bad thing? Like they're looking at that, trying to look at that from like a logical perspective, in order to be able to kind of step on top of that shadowy aspect of themselves and not let it kind of cloud what's possible between the two of you moving forward. Yeah, and they say, I want to take our relationship to the next level. So this person doesn't want to miss out on an opportunity with you. They don't want you to just be the person where it's like, okay, maybe in another lifetime, you know, right person, wrong time. They don't want that to be the case. They're trying to kind of work things out within themselves in order to, you know, trust that even though these feelings were unexpected, they're very deep, they're very overwhelming, that this could lead to kind of good things between the two of you, as opposed to something that, you know, would be kind of a damaging experience. They also say, I will be reaching out soon. So it feels like they are preparing themselves to, you know, make contact, you know, express something to you, get that truth out in some sort of way. You know, they don't just want this to be a circumstance of, you know, where they're kicking themselves for being afraid of love. That in a lot of ways you are the type of person that they've always wanted but never hoped that they could find. And so now that you're here in their reality, and they're feeling what they feel for you, there's a sense of almost like, I would be a fool to let this opportunity pass me by, and I don't want to kind of end up in that mindset or in that experience. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got Z, U, D, P, F, A, S, Q, V, L, H, N, A, Y, and R. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the blue heart. So let's see. What are the true thoughts and feelings of the person on your mind towards you at this time? Okay, we have awareness, connection, and weightlessness. So there's a sense that this person is very grateful for how natural things flow between the two of you. You're able to really anticipate this person's kind of moods, and you're responsive to that. There's a sense that you work really well in tandem with one another, or the conversation flows very naturally. You inspire this person to kind of like think about relationships or even think about life in a different way than they had before. They feel in some sort of way that you've kind of crossed paths with one another, like they needed to meet someone like you at this point in their life because you've helped them shift their focus, their attention, their perspective away from what's not going right, or things that might have been kind of like lacking or like deficiencies within them before. And it's like they feel good enough now. They feel like, hey, you know, there's something about me which is worthy. There's something about me which is likable. There's something about me where I don't always have to perform in order to be accepted. I don't always have to perform in order to kind of like get that attention or get that closeness from other people. Like they can just be themselves and kind of like drop the mask, drop the performance in your presence. And you like that version of them. This is something where they might have almost kind of like taken a leap of faith to show you a part of them, like a part of their personality, that they don't usually reveal to other people, either as quickly as they have with you or maybe at all. And it's something where you were really responsive to that in a positive way. You might have even had something about yourself that kind of matched that frequency, matched that polarity. There's a sense of like a very similar sense of humor between the two of you. You just get one another. You understand one another. And so there's a sense of feeling like they want you in their life in a long-term sense. Like even if things don't work out romantically, there's a sense like, I never want to lose this connection with you. I'd always want you in my life as a friend. I'd always want you to understand that I'm someone that you can turn to in your time of need. That it's almost like they're trying not to place too many expectations on sort of what the future will hold with you. They're trying to just go with the flow of the situation. And that feels unusually good for them because this may be somebody that tries to like control details of their life. They try to control outcomes. They're very attached to like their routine, the status quo, kind of like this is the role that I'm supposed to be in romantic partnerships or, you know, in the lives of other people. And with you, it's almost like you've thrown them for a curveball in a certain way. You know, you kind of bring out a side of them that was not part of the plan. Something that kind of goes against the grain of what their kind of comfort zone is. And it's almost like, that's okay. You're like a breath of fresh air to this person that's helping them to, again, kind of rethink certain options for themselves in life in general, or even kind of like what they've called in terms of partnerships, what they've settled for in other people, or in their life in general. And you encourage them to sort of think bigger, you know, think outside of the box in some sort of way. And there's a sense here as well that like your words or the way you even like actively listen to what they have to say, you're actively interested in the things that they're interested in. You know, you don't just kind of like pretend to be interested, or you don't just like dismiss them in some sort of way. You don't make them feel bad about certain kind of like beliefs or ideas or, you know, things they're focused on or things that they're doing. It's like you're very open-minded, you're very excited about that, or it aligns very much with certain factors about you, to where there's a sense of almost like you're the perfect match for them at this particular stage in their life, in their development, in their awareness. And again, there's a lot of gratitude at having like Out of all the people in the world, you found one another. You've connected with one another. You're building something with one another. It has the ability to kind of take off and really be an experience which allows you each to thrive, rather than something which is like, a waste of time, or makes you kind of regret taking a chance on one another. This transcends all of that. And so there's a sense here of almost like, they look forward to kind of hearing your perspective on things. They value your opinion. Your compliments really matter to them. You've helped bring, like, pick this person up emotionally in times when they felt very low or they've been in a very dark place. You've raised their spirits in some sort of way that goes far beyond just kind of like, thanks for being a listening ear. Thanks for being a shoulder that I could cry on. But it's almost kind of like you've helped this person sort of like to be okay with the times when their mood's sort of off. You've held space for them as they've worked through certain like frustrations or problems. Even just the fact that you've connected with them, it feels like it's raised this person's self-esteem, that like you're interested in them, you're enthusiastic about who they are and what they have going on. So let's look a little bit deeper into this, see what else their thoughts and feelings are about you. Okay, we have hasty hummingbird, swiftness, excitement, cheerfulness. Stealthy shark, comprehension, progress, improvement. And delightful deer, enlightenment, connection, and divination. So you definitely bring out like a softer side to this person, a gentle side to this person's nature that may be very different from kind of what's expected of them in order to move through their ordinary life. They may do something professionally that's very high stress or requires them to kind of like bottle up their emotions or kind of like wear a mask of stoicism, but in your presence they can relax, they can be themselves. It's almost like a feeling of coming home when they are with you. There's a sense that there's an instinctual urge to kind of like protect you in some sort of way. And there's a sense that they don't normally warm up to people as much as they have to you. They don't normally open up to people as quickly or as easily or as like naturally or organically as they have with you. And yet there's an absence of mistrust about this. There's a sense of feeling that you're like kindred spirits in some sort of way. Or again, you're somebody that's very good for them in general, or like at this point in their life. You provide some sort of balance for them where even kind of parts of their personality that are sort of bristly or maybe you connect with this person like when they're getting off work and, they got to kind of decompress or kind of like they debriefed a lot with you about stuff that they have going on, and you've kind of held space for them to sort of come back into their ordinary version of self. And there's a lot of appreciation for that. Like you didn't run from that. It's not something which has been off-putting. It's kind of like you just get that. You understand that. It might have even been something where, you could know that based on the nature of what they do for a living, or they might have even told you that, like, hey, when I'm hungry, I'm hard to deal with. When I'm, stressed out, I'm hard to deal with. They might have let you know those things. And it's like you took that to heart. You're not taking it personally if anything's very off about them. And it's helping them, it feels like, to more quickly and more easily sort of like get into a place within themselves where energetically or instinctually it's quick for them to kind of shift into that, like, okay, we're with one another and we're interacting. So I don't need to be in kind of that gloomy or stressed out or frustrated energy like I am at the office, or, like I am when I'm kind of working on something, behind the scenes, or I'm in my downtime, or I'm like ruminating about things, or, whatever kind of like attitude they may have about other things. It's like in your presence, you bring out a cheerful side of them and they like that. There's a sense that they want to go the distance in this situation in terms of like moving beyond anything as far as like physical distance between the two of you, anything where you need to kind of like get to know each other better. They're enthusiastic about that. Like, I'm curious about you. I want to learn about you. I want to know about you. I want you to get to know about me. I'm not just here for like when the times are good, but you've really held it down for me when I've not been so easy to deal with. And I want to do the same thing for you as well. There's a sense that they kind of wish that you would. Maybe you have a tendency to kind of just like, you pull away when things are difficult. You close off. You're kind of like, you don't want this person to like see that difficult side of you in some sort of way. That could have been a deal breaker for previous relationships, or you've just not really found anyone that can kind of accept that part of you. And there's a sense that they've gotten little hints or indicators of it. And they don't want to like make you feel uncomfortable or put you on the spot in any sort of way. But there's almost a sense of like, please don't run and hide when you're not feeling your best. Be that person with me that I want to be that person with you that you've been with me, where I've not been so easy to deal with. You accepted my rough edges, and I want to do the same for you. Not just in terms of like, oh, reciprocity and you were there for me, so let me be there for you. But there's a sense of almost like they want to learn even the difficult parts of you, or the things that may be very different from kind of the surface level presentation of who you are. They want to be able to kind of learn that and have the opportunity to fall in love with that version of you just as much as the part of you that's very easy to deal with. And there's a sense of almost with this hummingbird energy, it's kind of like when the two of you get into conversation or you start to kind of talk, it's almost like hours could go by and it feels like minutes. Time just seems to dissolve or evaporate when they are in your presence. They really look forward to talking with you, spending time with you, and it's almost like you're my favorite person to kind of just like sit around and do nothing with. I love how we get in our conversations or we have our exchanges with one another, and all of a sudden it's kind of like, okay, we were sitting here and now the restaurant's closing down, or hours have gone by and it's felt like only minutes. That's something which it feels like brings them back around to you more and more and more, because it's a very positive experience. It's a very interesting experience. It's a very unique experience. So let's get a couple more cards just to get some other information as far as their true thoughts and feelings towards you. We have the astronomer, discovery and augury. The scholar, investigation and research. And the gambler, loss and risks. So there's a sense that they don't want to overstep any boundaries with you and kind of, again, make you like close off, make you skeptical, make you self-conscious. They're very curious about you. They want to know more about you, but they don't want to seem like they're fishing for information. They don't want to push your buttons or, make you kind of feel like, well, why are you asking that? Why did you say that? They're kind of like waiting for you to sort of volunteer information to them. And it feels like they've maybe been leading by example by being very chatty with you, sharing a lot about themselves. And there's a sense of like, I want you to feel comfortable enough to like confide in me. I don't want you to feel that it's kind of like a risk to open up in some sort of way. They see long-term potential with you, or you're kind of like, they wished on a star to like meet someone like you, and here you are. Or it's something where it almost feels like the stars have aligned. You're the right person and it's the right time. And so they're very enthusiastic as far as kind of like, okay, let's keep this pace going between the two of us. Let's continue this like beautiful dance that we have going on with one another. because I'm fascinated by you. I'm fascinated by the version of me that comes out, that comes to the surface when we're hanging out with each other, when we're talking with one another, when we're having these kind of like moments of experience, or even in terms of like intimacy, like if you're intimate with one another, there's a sense that it goes far beyond just sort of like a sexual connection. There's almost like an energetic connection, like your energies just really align with one another. They're not just kind of feeling, pleasure in the physical sense, but it's almost like you send chills through their energetic body in the best possible way. There's a sense that they've never kind of met anyone that's had this effect on them in the same way that you do. And there's a sense of like, if you were to part ways from one another, they know they'd never meet anyone like you again. They see you as a once in a lifetime person. And so this is somebody that it feels like wants to do what they can in order to be able to kind of continue this bond between the two of you, take things to the next level of commitment when the time is right. This is somebody that doesn't just want a casual connection between the two of you. They don't just see you as a temporary person, that this is the energy of kind of like, I want to go to the ends of the earth to see what I can do to make this connection work. I want to strengthen our bond. I don't want to lose what we have. I don't want to look anywhere else. I'm not interested in any other options. All I see is you. So let's get some message cards from their higher self and see what they want you to know right now. Okay, and we have, I'll never forget the time we spent together. Yeah, so it feels like they think back on your conversations with each other. They're kind of like in this sort of lovey-dovey, cloud-like haze, but in the best possible way, in the aftermath of the times where you've been with one another. It's a very dreamy energy. It's the sense that they like crave you. They crave your energy. They crave your presence. They can't wait to spend time with you. They also say, I check up on you through social media. So again, this is almost kind of like they want to know more about you. They want to know what exists behind that mask, behind that facade, behind the surface level presentation. They want to earn their way into the inner sanctum, the inner circle within your life. They want themselves to kind of prove to be one of those people that you trust. Not just because they say, oh, trust me, and you're supposed to take that at face value. But this is almost somebody that is, it feels like they intend on kind of providing you with more honesty so that you feel comfortable being more open and honest with them. They also say, please give me some time to heal. So this feels like something that your exchanges with one another, your presence in their life, all of this is a very healing experience. It brings forth a very like a hopeful energy, kind of like, okay, all of my searches and kind of, the things that I've sort of come up with that were losses as far as like potential connections with other people, none of that was in vain because I've aligned with you. It's almost like you came into their life when they weren't looking for it, or they didn't expect that you would you'd get along with each other as well as you do, or that they would kind of like have this experience with you where they could feel so comfortable so quickly. And so there's a sense that, they're trying at this point in time to almost not think about kind of regrets of the past or they might also be thinking about kind of like earlier on in your connection, things that they might have said or done that were, it didn't come out right, or the way in which, they may have had kind of a closed off or sort of like a grumpy kind of disposition with you at different points in time. And there's a sense of almost like, let's just move on from that. I like the way that I feel comfortable with you. I want to make you know that I'm very enthusiastic about this. I'm I'm very excited for what the future holds between the two of us. They're trying to kind of forgive themselves for anything where they've sort of stumbled along in this situation at earlier chapters of your experience with one another. And they're trying to really just focus on the here and now, focus on the moment, kind of put one foot in front of the other, and trust, it feels like. And they want you to trust as well in kind of the beautiful unfolding of this experience between the two of you. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got N, G, Y, E, O, X, Q, K, R, C, L, D, F, P, L, T, O, and U. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you would like a personal reading, there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well.